Okay. So you've done voices in a lot of popular franchises. Is it intimidating voicing a character in such a popular franchise? Like, do you worry about like messing it up and making fans angry?
No. Thank you very much. No, I don't, because I think part of coming into this this industry as a professional is knowing that there are always going to be people who aren't happy, regardless of if it's good or not. And so that's just a really important thing that people need to realize, is that you're never going to be able to make everybody happy, and it doesn't matter if it's the English dub of an anime or a Marvel movie. You know, like there are going to be people who think the series should be a certain way, and there are going to be those who are very happy with it, and there are going to be those who aren't. So that's not really ever intimidating, or the scale of it or anything. The only thing that I ever worry about is my own sense of like, do I feel like I will do this well? You know, because we're always our own hardest critics. So, and that's the other thing about it, is like anybody who doesn't like it or anything like that, it's like, well, you're not nearly as mean to me as I'm mean to me. So, you know, so it's fine.
So this kind of ties into that. When you got cast as Bakugo, were you like familiar with like the existing popularity of My Hero Academia, or was that something that you kind of went into blind?
Mildly. I knew it was anticipated to be a big show, and we've gotten stuff like that before, where they've been like, oh, this is potentially a very big show. This could be a very big show, and sometimes they are, and other times they don't catch on. You know, the American audience just doesn't grab the American audience the way that it may have grabbed the Japanese audience, or maybe the way the manga does, or something to that effect. And so with My Hero, we had been hearing about it when it had gotten licensed, and they were heavily anticipating it to be a very popular show. So I mean, I gunned for it. I'd watched the first 2 episodes in Japanese, because those had come out by the time we did the auditions, and I was very, very confident that Justin Briner was going to be the voice of Deku. Just from watching the Japanese version, I was like, that's Justin Briner. His voice fits that, and that's what he's going to be. So I have to go for Bakugo, and to be honest with you, the first season came and went, and it was popular, but it wasn't this like explosive, you know, success that we were all kind of maybe led to believe initially. And it wasn't until the second season started airing, when we were doing the simuldub of the second season, and the first season came out on home video, that then it started to really hit. Because, you know, I've been doing conventions for several years, and in that first year of voicing Bakugo, not a lot of people came up to me about Bakugo. But when we were doing the second season, the first season was available on Blu-ray. That's when it started being like, people were just coming up to me and talking to me about Bakugo all the time. And I was like, oh, it seems like it's starting to really catch. And from there forward, it has just been a nonstop hype train. So the answer ultimately is yes and no. I was aware that it was projected to be very popular. Initially, it didn't seem like it was going as popular as they thought. It was just going to be, you know, a mildly successful show, and then it became what they had said. So and continues to grow, thankfully. So
I have a question about, you know, we're on the topic of Bakugo, My Hero Academia. So what is your approach and your mindset when you came on to voice Bakugo? Because we know him as the real hothead. He wants to go in first. Let's act first, think later, without the second thought of the consequences. So how did you approach that characteristic about Bakugo?
Well, I don't know that I agree with that assessment, because we see, especially by the third season, that Bakugo is always thinking. That Bakugo is always thinking ahead, and they even say that back in the first season, is that Bakugo's able to analyze a thing and adjust to it very quickly. Like in the first fight against Deku, he can dodge instantly. Like he knows his power and quirk very well, and is highly strategic. Todoroki even says that. He's like, he comes across as someone who doesn't have a strategy, but he's actually very intelligent. And And that's always sort of been my mindset to it, is that Bakugo can let his attitude get the best of him, but he may not be the smartest person in the room, but he is a very smart person in the room. Bakugo knows what he's talking about, he knows why he's there, and he knows how he's going to do his thing. And that breeds into his overconfidence and his pride. And so there's always been this level of understanding of Bakugo that I've tried to attain, of that why would Bakugo say these things and what do these things mean to Bakugo, and it all comes from those elements.
So as a voice actor, particularly on such an action-packed show, you're often making a lot of loud noises, a lot of sounds and different effects. How do you, as a voice actor, maintain your voice to come into a recording session and start it again fresh each day?
A lot of that is knowing your limits, and to be honest with you, I lose my voice recording for Bakugo probably every major Bakugo episode, because Bakugo screams 90% of them, right? You know, and the thing about that is, if I were to hold back on that screaming, you know, then it's not going to come across as a strong performance or a good, genuine portrayal of Bakugo. And so I always really give it my all. But there's a certain point where we've definitely had to call sessions a little bit early, so that we could pick up in like 2 days to finish an episode. When we did the was it Versus Deku Part 2? I think we recorded that over the course of 2 or 3 days, maybe. The movie, for example, the Two Heroes movie, that first scene that Bakugo's in, it's not very long, but Bakugo is at 11 the whole time, and that movie took me 3 sessions to record, and the first half hour of it took me 2 sessions alone, because Bakugo just screams so hard the whole time. And so a lot of it is knowing, like, well, I'm done now. I can't. We need to stop because I can't go. And plus, Colleen Klinkenbeard is the voice director for the English version. She's very experienced with yelling, screaming characters herself, having played characters like Luffy and Gohan, and so she will make me go until I can't go anymore. Like, we'll like scream, and then she'll be like, okay, now let's do this next one. And then she goes, no, you're done. You know, like, we'll record it. She goes, nope, you don't sound right anymore. You're done. Gone. So a lot of it is you know, knowing the limit, knowing when it's not sounding good anymore, resting, trying to take care of myself. I feel I'm a little congested right now because of travel, but this time in between season 3 and season 4 is the longest amount of time that we've had between My Hero seasons, being like 1.25 years, I believe it was, or something to that effect. And this is the first time that I feel like I've had enough time that my voice is fully healed from a My Hero season to go into the next one. All the other ones I was still a little bit hoarse, even you know, 1 year later, half a year later. It's just crazy to think about, but so yeah.
So with that break between season 3 and season 4, was it like difficult to get back into the role, or was it kind of just more of a relief because like you had time to rest your voice?
It's funny because I never feel like I am that far away from Bakugo's character. Like I know Bakugo so well at this point now, and I have lived with him for so many years now that Bakugo's mind is always something I can just step into if I need to. What's hard is, because my voice has healed between the 2 seasons, is that there's kind of a thing about the first real voice thrashing session of Bakugo brings back the true sound of Bakugo. And Bakugo hasn't screamed like that in this season yet. He's like yelled a little bit, but I haven't thrashed my voice. So there's every now and again I'm like, is this right? Does this sound like Bakugo? I know the character, but does this sound right? You know, like that's the hardest part, is just like make sure I'm sitting in the right spot for the voice. Now that my throat has healed finally. So yeah.
Something a little related to what you said. How do you settle on a voice for a character?
Oh, in the case of anime, I try to listen to what the Japanese actor is doing and bring my voice to a close approximation of what the Japanese actor is doing, because especially in today's day and age, where people can watch the Japanese version within an hour, if not minutes, of when it went up on Japanese television, people are already predisposed to what that character is supposed to sound like. And so I always want to be really honest to that. Bakugo is a funny example to it, because when he starts the show, he's like 14, and now he's 16, and he's definitely screamed a lot more since in those 2 years of life. But it's funny because if you go back and watch like episode 1 of My Hero Academia, my voice it's very clearly Bakugo, but like I'm not sitting as low with it as I was. It still has like that edge that I gave it, but the lowness developed over time. So I always say it kind of just grew with the character, because as Bakugo got into UA and started to like have his pride chipped away at, other people started to become better students, and Deku was not a worthless nerd the way that he always thought, and there are other people who are smarter and more capable and everything. Those wounded Bakugo's pride, and Bakugo kind of becomes like shut off to everybody else. Like he becomes like meaner and like closed off. And I kind of always feel like that the voice grew that way, is like as Bakugo became more shut off from everybody else around him, my voice became like harsher and like sharper too, which was just a weird coincidence of living with the character. But a lot of it is listen to what the Japanese version did, and set forth, and then like come to know it. So yeah.
And to add to basically their question, both of their questions kind of coincide with my question. You've been voicing him for since 2016, 3 years now.
Yeah.
How much have you grown as both a voice actor and as a person, throughout the journey of these past 2 years with Bakugo?
Immensely. Like from a professional standpoint, my career has changed. Whereas in the old days, I was in big titles such as like Attack on Titan or Tokyo Ghoul. Like those were the roles I was known for. Like, oh, he voices Connie and Hide. Now people come up to me for Bakugo and they're like, oh my god, you voiced Connie and Hide? Yes, I do.
Your resume is pretty long. People realize it.
It's so strange, and those characters, granted, those sound more like my natural voice, whereas Bakugo sounds more this way. So a lot of people don't realize that I voice those voices. But so it changed over the course of these few years, like what was in people's minds and like what am I known for and whatnot. That's just mind-blowing for me. But then like as a person, I've grown so much just because like when we started doing My Hero 2016, I was 28. So now I'm 31. I think I had just turned 28. And there's a big, I don't know if a lot of people talk about this, but there's a big difference in change from your 20s to your 30s. And it just kind of comes from like, just knowing like in your 20s you're like kind of like scrambling all the time, like trying to figure out like, oh god, am I an adult? They've been telling me this for a decade.
I still feel that way.
Right, but like at like nearing 30 and being 30, like my life has settled. It's like I kind of gotten a hang of it. Like, okay, and this is how I paid bills, and this is how I paid taxes, and it's just kind of funny. Like all those things grow and change over time, and they change your perception of things, and a lot of things that like Bakugo has gone through, and like his pride and his drive and whatnot. Those are things that I connect with and always have connected with, but now I connect with them more as like a thing, almost like a thing from the past, as like where Bakugo was, or where Bakugo is or was with his damaged pride and whatnot, and his sense of wanting to achieve is very similar to how I was as a teenager and a young adult, where it was like I wanted to go out and prove myself and succeed at the things I wanted to do. And so now I've I've done that. I have gone and succeeded, and it's and I'm very fortunate to be able to say that. So it's just incredible. So it's kind of funny. I always kind of I do see a lot of myself in Bakugo, which is very convenient for playing him. So, but hopefully I'm not as mean, or never was as mean. Hopefully, fingers crossed. So.
You ever have fans ask you to say things in Bakugo's voice at conventions?
All the time. And I feel terrible about it, but I always have to decline because the voice is so hard. And like I said, like I'm a little bit congested today from travel. But, so like if I'm doing the voice today, I'm going to destroy myself. And I won't be able to do anything tomorrow or Sunday, and so I have to kind of respectfully be like, I'm sorry, I can't do it, but if you come to the panel, I'll sure do it on the panel, it's like then I can do it for like a window, and that'll do a whole audience of people, and they can get to hear it. But the people who come up to me for like autographs, like one at a time, I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't. Like you don't realize it, but you're the 500th person to ask me that today, so. Yeah.
So what can fans expect from Bakugo, this coming season?
Oh,
before
my
it just
goodness.
launched,
What can you tell us?
I wish I could tell you anything. It's always a surprise
He'll
to me,
be
too.
there.
Yeah, because that's the thing is, some of us read the manga, like Justin Briner reads the manga, Voice of Deku reads the manga. I don't. And that's partly because I also direct a lot of shows, so like if I'm reading manga, it's for something that I'm directing. I don't really have the time to be reading the manga for my acting, because that's also because I direct other shows, that's where the director comes in. It's like I am dependent upon Colleen to lead me into portraying the character accurately, and she has her own vision of it, of how it's supposed to sound in English. So what Bakugo's going to do in this season, I don't really know. I know that I've seen artwork of like a winter outfit that Bakugo gets apparently, and I'm like really eager to see it because I've received a lot of fan art of it. So I really just want to see it come to life. I believe there should be something coming up with him and Todoroki going after their licenses, or the provisional licenses that they did not receive in the third season. And that seems to be what they're going towards right now anyway, is every time Todoroki and Bakugo are on screen, Todoroki's saying like, gotta catch up to our classmates. And Bakugo's like, shut up! So I'm looking forward to that personally, but beyond that, I don't know yet. I'm eager to find out with all of you guys.
So you mentioned that you direct a bit yourself.
Mm-hmm.
What are the best and worst parts for you as when you're in that role as a director? What do you love the most, and what are the things that you kind of just have to deal with?
Oh man, there's not a whole lot that I don't love out of it, to be honest with you, which I know sounds like a major cop-out issue, like answer, but like if there were things I don't love about it, it's like bureaucracy stuff. It's like deadlines or other ancillary duties that are related to the directing job. It's never about the actual directing job. I love directing actors and directing anime and everything like that. It's just it's fantastic. My favorite parts of it are working with an actor and like getting them to really get into the headspace of a character and bring it to life and bring out emotion. I'm currently directing Dr. Stone, which is airing on Toonami, which is like a huge moment in my life, because like I watched Toonami as a teenager, with like Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, and so now it's like, oh, now I have a show that's on there that I work on every week.
That's awesome.
So that's phenomenal, and like I just got to meet the creators of the Dr. Stone manga just before these interviews and whatnot.
Yeah, they're here this weekend too.
Yeah, and so that's incredible to get to meet creators and such like that. They're the first time they are the first creators I've ever gotten to meet. The only other instance I've had like that was I directed Darling in the Franxx, and I got to meet a bunch of people from Studio Trigger.